The opinions expressed within the content of this podcast solely that of our guests and do not reflect the views and beliefs of the Bigfoot and Paranormal Encounters podcast, its hosts or its affiliates.
The sun sinks low in the Allegheny Pines. There's a shadow moving between the timberlines. The city folks are sleeping, but the woods are wide awake. And there's more than just a wind making the laurel shake. Down a dirt track road where the cell service dies sits a man with a mic and the truth in his eyes. He's broadcasting live from the cryptid cabin floor, deep in Pennsylvania behind a bolted door. It's Bigfoot and Paranormal Encounters tonight, shining a lantern on the things that shun the light. Yeah, Dave Bruce is the pilot and the haunting stars now, so pour a stiff drink and wipe the sweat from your brow. Saturday night, 7 o'clock on the dot. The YouTube feed is humming and the tubes are getting hot. From the hair on a squatch to the ghost in the hall. If it's weird, if it's wild, yeah, Dave's heard it all. He ain't looking for fame, he ain't looking for gold. Just the stories that the world is too damn scared to be told. He's broadcasting live from the cryptid cabin floor, deep in Pennsylvania behind a bolted door. It's Bigfoot and Paranormal Encounters tonight, shining a lantern on the things that shun the light. Yeah, Dave Bruce is the pilot and the haunting stars now. 7 p.m. Eastern. The woods are calling your name. You're in the cabin now. Welcome to the show.
Dave Weigert was born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland. His family has seen and experienced far more than most families with strange encounters and tragic moments. Dave, the youngest of 4 children and the only living sibling, went on to have many strange encounters throughout his childhood and adult life. At age 20 he began his journey to learn about the unknown. Dave has a background with Baltimore County Fire and Police, private security, bodyguard, bank security and security for a Baltimore sports team and other law enforcement agencies. Dave started the Maryland Paranormal Research Team in 2003 and closed the doors in 2016. He started Other Voices on the MPRT radio network along with a newsletter. From 2007 till 2016 he was the curator for the haunted Ramblewood Mansion. He hosted years of paranormal research and investigations at the location. Dave was also a mobile DJ for 35 years. Dave was a speaker at a number of colleges speaking about the paranormal to students. Dave founded the Maryland Bigfoot Research Team in 2018 and left it to a former member of MPRT. He now resides in Bucks County, Pennsylvania near his grandchildren. He has since founded the Mid-Atlantic Bigfoot Research Team. He currently hosts a podcast weekly called Bigfoot and Paranormal Encounters Podcast. Let's welcome Dave to the podcast.
Welcome to Bigfoot and Paranormal Encounters podcast. And now your host, Dave Weichert.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bigfoot and Paranormal Encounters podcast. Well, I'm all alone tonight. My two co-hosts are not with me tonight, and I hope they're having fun out there. But anyway, we have a great guest tonight, so we're going to be talking Bigfoot, and I'm sure some other cryptids as well. So before I move any farther, let me just make sure I throw these two in there. Okay, I just wanted to get them two in there real quick. All right, so let me bring in my guests. Our guest for tonight is Mr. Brian BARBER. Brian, how are you tonight, sir?
Doing good, Dave. How we doing? It's okay to call you Dave? Or
Yes,
David?
Dave. Dave's fine. Yep.
With
Just
that resume, I don't want to screw it up.
Just don't call me too late for dinner. That's all.
All right.
I hope you saved me. Some peanut butter there.
You should see my credit card on that peanut butter.
Oh wow.
We
All
are.
right, so here's how we're going to get started. I'm gonna, the most famous question is, Brian, share with myself and the listeners what sparked your interest and how you got started in Bigfoot and the cryptids.
What sparked me was I thought Bigfoot was real. Basically, some of my first memories, because my grandmother had a piece of property in Benzie County in Lake Ann, and there were woods back there that even as a little kid I can remember. You would, you hear your birds and squirrels and everything, and then you would walk in, and it would just go silent. And like even the family dog, they had a German Shepherd at one time, and they had a sheepdog at another, and neither dog would go in the woods. And that was because, Bigfoot was back there. And they had experiences there. And then I remember it was when the Patterson Gimlin film aired on In Search of Leonard Nimoy, and they first showed it. I pointed to the TV and I'm like, Dad, what's at Grandma's? Is that what's at Grandma's? And he's like, well, not that one, but yeah, that's what's at Grandma's. So I always had a belief of it. And then my first sighting was in 1987, and just a couple miles down the road from my property. So that was at nighttime. I'm notorious for taking midnight drives. And, at the age of 16, the world was almost over because the girlfriend was mad at me. So I'm driving with some Boston, trying to clear my head. And as I come around this corner, there was a guardrail, and I saw something big and dark. I don't know why. I thought it was like a big bag of garbage because, back then we're dumping stuff. It was 1987. And I thought it was a huge bag of garbage. And as I got closer, I noticed it had like hair. I thought, oh, it's a big bear. So I thought I would, get this bear to move, and it kept inching closer and closer with the car. And finally, within 10 feet, maybe, it stood up, and then it squared off to my car. And it was so tall that it literally stood up first and then squared. So the shoulder, I had a 79 El Camino, and I'm a pretty decent sized guy. And you could have fit two of me side by side in that El Camino. And the shoulders and arms were on the outside edge of those fenders. And the high beams hit it in about the chest. I will say you could tell it was a male. You could see, some anatomy, and it was black with some brown highlights. It was massive. Looking back, 600 pounds easy. And after a few, and I could look, and you could see like between baseball and softball size eyes, quite a few inches apart, glowing in the off the beam of the headlights from here, and it was almost like it was looking straight through me. And I'm looking at them. And then I went, okay, I've had enough. And I go to hit the horn. And as I come down to hit the horn, I got about halfway down. And I don't, you hear a lot about mind speak. I don't know if it was that or just being chicken. But something inside me said, don't hit that horn. It's going to be a bad night for you because he's going to peel you right out of the car. It was a couple more seconds, and it literally just turned to its left and the guardrail and was gone. What got me, at first I was all excited. Oh man, I'll wait till I tell this person and tell this person and tell this person. And then it's like, it's 1987. I can't tell anybody about this. They're going to put me in a white coat and take me away. So, and even though the family had experiences, it was still something you weren't allowed to talk about, especially in a small town like Benzie County. So I sat on that for well into 30 years till we all had to stay home for a while, and I started getting on the forums. But I watched everything and read everything Bigfoot I could from that point forward. I mean, any book I could find and in the school library. And I didn't even know Bigfoot was real until like kindergarten, just because I had grown up with it. So that's what got me going. And once if I sink my teeth into something like that, that's been a lifelong. It's like the Hulk. You can see all the stuff behind me, right around the same time I started collecting comics of that. And the Patterson Gimlin was something else I dove into the whole time. Monster Quest. Any show I could get a hold of, I was watching, and watch it multiple times.
Well, my sighting was back in 1982. It was on some farmland for a guy that had hired me to myself and my best friend to come on his land and do some farming work, and he had other businesses on the outside of the farm as well. But in 1982, when I had my Bigfoot sighting, I just wish that it would have been a lot more clear, because my sighting was from a deck looking into the woodlines, and I could see it in the brush, and mixed in with the trees, and then the arm came out, and then I saw the big hand. I was only like maybe 30 40 feet from the woodline. And but after that, myself and my friend and my boss, we experienced other stuff like finding foot tracks and stuff that had gotten Bigfoot had gotten into and just scattered it everywhere, and the knocking the trees down and seeing trees shake to the left, to the right, so hard it was unbelievable. But to this day, I just wish it would have came out of the brush so that I could have seen it, like it was looking, it was looking up at the deck towards me, looking at me. I just wish I could have seen Bigfoot that way as well, but it's just so.
I guess I should explain that the reason why they would say Bigfoot was out there was there was two instances. Mm-hmm. They moved there, and it's kind of funny because they had a dog man encounter in '64. They moved to Lake Ann in '65, Michigan, and then Bigfoot started in like '66 on their property. So, but the one instance I remember, and it's actually in the Benzie County police reports, is my grandpa was a dispatcher for Benzie County and worked midnight shift, and it would have been 73 or 70, I want to say 74, and he was working midnight, and all of a sudden it was one of those nights where you have heat lightning, where there's no rain, but there's lightning flashes going on, and the dog barked and then scooted under my grandma's bed, and her bed faced the window, and when a flash of lightning went off, there was a huge silhouette in the window. And so she got the shotgun and called my grandpa, and he came and brought several deputies with him. By this time, it's starting to get light, and they found 17-inch tracks outside
Wow.
the window, and we're actually able to follow it back into the woods. And they estimated whatever made them was just over about 500 pounds. So that's where Bigfoot being in the woods, kind of came from, was that. And then after I started coming out with the Bigfoot stuff, my uncle sent me an email, and he had an incident there that he got lost, and everybody knew he was lost because he was gone for like 6 hours in the woods. But what he never told anybody was during, probably more than half of that time when he was lost, he had something follow him that would pop its head out and take a look at him, that was all brown, a little over 6 feet tall, and was kind of like herding him along. As soon as he would stop, it would start making noise and pop its head back out. So
let's see here. Brian from Travis Harford. He says, need to hear thoughts on the PG film. Let's touch a little bit on that. You and I in the green room, we had a little discussion. But Travis needs to hear thoughts on the PG film. What do you think, Brian?
All the real deal.
Uh-huh.
No doubt in my mind. We talked a little bit about it, and I've actually had the pleasure of talking with MK Davis, and I watched all his Greenwave stuff when he was doing analysis, and the way the muscle flexes. They just didn't have, if you want a comparison of the technology they had back then, look at the first Planet of the Apes. That's the best Hollywood with $1 million budget, even back then, could do.
Right.
And they're going to say a couple cowboys outdid Hollywood when Patterson had to borrow money in order to even get to rent the camera in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
But the muscles flexing and all the other stuff that people don't want to, they just want to see a suit or not a suit. They don't take into account anatomy, the prints that were also there. So you got to take that whole totality of it, and it just doesn't work. They already figured out Patty was over like 7 feet tall, and about 750 pounds. And if you think about that, Andre the Giant, who was just about 7 feet tall, was only 500 pounds, and he couldn't move like that. So where would they even get the person to be able to be that athletic, drag him out? What is it, a 3-day ride or whatever it is in the Bluff Creek?
Something like that, yeah.
And it just doesn't fly to be anything but. Now, you can go there out and say, is that a Bigfoot? Now, can I say that? I say it's a Bigfoot. But you could say, well, technically, it might not be a Bigfoot, it might be this, but it's definitely not a human in a suit. So,
well, I'll say, as I stated to you, and I'll say this again, I have yet to see capturing Bigfoot, and when I do, I seriously don't think it's going to change anything for me. I don't.
And let's, on the 99.99% chance something comes out of this, it doesn't change anything other than that moment.
Right.
It doesn't change, the 4 years I've got with some good pictures and footprints and audio and even a visit from the DNR. I got pretty deep into this, and I did some stuff that, looking back, it was cool to get the evidence, but it wasn't cool with what happened with it. So, I got into the whole habituation thing for about 4 years.
And
hey,
real quick, I just want to give a shout out to Daniel Lee Barnett is in the chat room. I want to give a shout out to him, and congratulations to you, Daniel, and everything you're doing and what you have planned for the future. All right, let me.
Well, don't be afraid to interrupt me for chat, because I am all about the chat. That's why I do these things. So
yeah, we're going to get into plenty of questions from the guests and the listeners. I'm sorry, in the chat room. Let me just stir this one up here real quick. Let's see. Share to America goes to. Oh, cool. Nice. Thank you very much. Oh, okay. Let's. All right. So let me just take that down. Now we were talking about previously. We were talking about an incident you had with an audio recorder because I brought to your attention that one of my colleagues, Mr. Tim Dills, he had an audio recorder out in the woods, and when he went to retrieve his audio, he had to sit there and listen to, I believe what he believes happened, that it was a juvenile sitting there snapping branches and twigs and just playing around. It didn't move the recorder or anything. It just for a long period of time just kept snapping twigs and snapping more. And you said you had something similar to that. Can you explain about it?
Yeah, it was one of the. I started putting recorders out, and it was funny because they get moved, they get played with. I lost a couple. And I'm not saying Bigfoot did it all. I know some probably squirrels ran off with it, whatever. But this one in particular that we were talking about was next to the area where I go. It's a dirt road, and there was a sign, and I know it's where they cross the road, and we'll get into it later because it involves some pictures. But I know they crossed that road.
Okay.
So I was duct taping a recorder in, on the. They got like the angle iron that they anchor the signs in. So I tucked it in there. And as I'm wrapping the tape, you hear on the recorder, you hear bang. And then you hear me curse and say a rock because I had somebody with me. And then it happens 3 more times, while I'm taping that recorder. So we leave. And about 2 hours later, you start hearing activity. You can hear twigs break, bigger branches being broken. It sounds like you can hear some heavy footfall. And then you also start hearing, and this goes on 3 or 4 hours. And you start hearing some of that samurai chatter. It's real faint at first, it's in the background, and you almost have to bring it up. My friend's got the recorder, and he's putting it through his, one of those analysis things. But at some point, you hear a loud crack, and I swear it'd be like when Dad hits his thumb with a hammer, crack, and then it got quiet again. But then after the noise stopped, you can hear some footfall, and you actually hear something scratch the top of the recorder. And it was hard, crusty snow. And I took a picture, but it's no real clear track. You can only see where the snow broke. And they were 17. I had a 17-inch wiper blade from my Dodge Ram, and I put that next to it. That's how big it was.
Wow.
Right down the hill by the sign and right across the road.
Is that the photos you sent to me?
Pardon?
Is that the photos you sent over to me?
No, that was from another night where that night got pretty hairy.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, there was somebody else with me. She's passed away now, but
I'm sorry to hear that.
That night got pretty crazy. I should have grabbed. Somebody did some artwork for me of what I saw. I can't find it anyway. But I don't know if you want to jump around or go in kind of a chronological order how some of this stuff happened, or because there's
we can jump around however you want to do it. Yeah.
So that night we had been doing the habituation with the peanut butter jars and stuff for about 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And to give you, just so you got background, I don't get to go out at night a lot like I would like to, because my girlfriend and a future wife has MS and is quadriplegic. So I'm a caregiver 19 hours a day. And this particular night, had a caregiver late. And my friend who had stage 4 cancer at the time wanted to get out. I said, well, I know where I want to go. I want to go check this place out at night and see if we can hear anything. And so we drove, and the two picture prints in the snow, I caught it with the headlights, and I took a picture of it. And I said, I know what made that. And she didn't believe in Bigfoot at all. She's all 5'4", and by that time with the cancer, about 105 pounds. And in the picture, you can see the deer tracks running up the hill. And then you just see two big prints that are, separated pretty well. And so I took a picture, and then I said, well, let's walk up there and see if we can find anything. This is, 9:30 at night, so it's dark in Michigan at that time. And as we get to the top of the hill, we can start hearing, a little twig break here and there. I think it's just night animals. And then we hear one loud crack in front of us. And she goes, turn that light on. And so I turned the flashlight on. And not more than 50 feet in front of us is, I call him Big Red. And when I first saw him, he was maybe 5 foot. But by this time, he was between 6 and 7. As soon as I had one of those mag spotlights. Mm-hmm. As soon as I turned it on, the left arm comes up. And you can see the hair hanging down the arm. About 3 or 4 inches. And he's reddish brown. And I didn't hesitate. I turned around and I put my truck keys in her hand. And I said, go. Because if I'm not 30 seconds behind you, you go. And you get in the truck and you go. And right at that point, he roared at us. I mean, it wasn't a grunt or, it was a mad roar. And it was like being at a rock concert where you can just imagine the clearest bass, how it just kind of goes through you. And that's what it felt like. It felt like the clothes vibrated and everything. So we start back down the hill. And she's not moving fast enough for my liking, so I'm kind of picking her up and pushing her. And whatever that was, you could hear it, following us out, because you could hear the heavy footfall.
Right.
And we get to the truck. The road's a sheet of ice, and I had a Dodge 3500 Ram. Open the door, literally, from the adrenaline, shove her into the top. And as soon as my foot hit, it comes up from underneath me, under the truck I go. So I'm trying to shimmy my way out from underneath this truck. And I hear my truck start. So I'm like, crap, am I going to get run over? Or Bigfoot going to beat the hell out of me? Luckily, I get in the truck before she had put it in gear. And then we back down the road. And within a few minutes, I said, I don't know about you, but I want to drink. That was crazy. And she says, well, we need to stop at Shell first. And I'm like, for what? I got plenty of gas. And she had, lost bodily control and peed. So, we stop at Shell. She luckily she had snow pants. So she just took the wet ones off, put her snow pants back on, and we went to the, place called the Sleepy Bear. I had a couple drinks, and then we went back the next day. She didn't go with me. Another person went with me. She refused after that. Mm-hmm. And I tried to recreate those steps because they were still there. And you can see in the picture, it's 2 very clear prints. There's no kicking of snow or anything in between it. So I took a video of it, and it takes me about 11 steps, and I'm kicking snow the whole way. I mean, it's over knee deep on me.
Wow.
So then we put a tape measure to it, and then I sent you that picture. If you zoom in on it, you can actually see toes.
Yeah, let me, I believe is it this one?
Nope.
No? Okay.
One with the boot next to it. That one was the 17-incher we found.
Okay, let me take, maybe, no, not that. It's probably this one.
Yep, those are the 2 prints. And what's funny about that picture is a friend of mine said, I see more in here. I'm going to send it to somebody. And they sent it to Bob Daigle.
Mm-hmm.
And Bob Dingles used to work on military satellites, imaging, and everything, and sent me back some light and photos. And he said you've got 3 of them in there. You know, there's 2 on the left and 1 on the right.
Okay.
And where the dark shadow is from about quarter of the way up to about halfway up the tree that you can see,
Mm-hmm.
when you lighten it up, it's pretty clear there's an individual. So we walk right in between them.
Wow.
And those tracks were 23 inches.
23 inches. How about
Yeah.
that? Okay. Is there another photo that goes with this?
I must not have sent it to you.
Let's see. I have one.
Next to it.
Okay. I have the one that I first put up, and you said it wasn't it. And I have one with a tape measure next to it or over top of it. And then
that's another 23 incher we found out there.
Do you want me to? Which one do you want me to put up? Let's see.
Let me see here.
I mean, if you can show it, if you have the photo and you can show it on your end, I can. Let me adjust this real quick.
Let's see here.
I can approve it and be able to put the photo up. So.
Can I send it to you on Messenger?
Or
is it?
It's kind of difficult for me to navigate when I'm in here because I have a good record of hitting something wrong and then boom.
Oh yeah,
yeah, I'm not. If you can send it to me here, okay.
But that's my boot, and I wear a size 15.
So that track was a what? 17? You said
23 inches.
23. I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, I can see that real good.
And it's what's cool about it to me is you can see the heel kick. Mm-hmm. You know, when they walk, how they showed in the Patterson-Gimlin film, the heel kicks out because of the way their hips are structured.
Right.
So in that picture, you can see when it gets to the top, you get that little swing out to the left from the heel kick.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just double checking here to make sure I didn't. Okay, that was the. No, that's not it. Okay. All right. So let's take a look here real quick. Just want to give a shout out to Karen. Say hi to her and Billy. Glad you could tune in. Brian, let me ask you this: what do you think a Bigfoot is?
Oh man, I
know it's a hard question, but
I used to just go straight Gigantopithecus.
Mm-hmm.
That was
okay.
But now, after talking to so many people, every time I draw a line in the sand, it seems like I got to move it back.
Right.
And because I'm not one of these people that just because Bigfoot didn't do something with me, I don't think that somebody else didn't experience something different. You know, like the mind speed, the cloaking, stuff like that. So the way I say it now is like a hominid with innate abilities that maybe we've kind of forgotten. Mm-hmm. Because telepathy seems to be a thing. I do think part of the cloaking is actually like because the hair's translucent in spots. They've had a couple Bigfoot hairs that probable Bigfoot hairs. Mm-hmm. and where the shaft is kind of translucent in the middle, so kind of like a polar bear effect, where I think if it's in the right light, it can catch the color just right, so it appears to be that color. But I am not one of these people that say they can't do portals and they can't do this. It's like people have seen it, and who am I? I've seen Bigfoot. Who am I to discredit somebody else's experience? I
Do
hope
you
I
think
answered that right. So I think they're flesh and blood, but it have other capabilities as well.
capabilities? So do you think they're supernatural? I mean, there's so many reports of, Bigfoot can do this. I've had this happen, to me, not speaking of me, but, others as well. Myself, out in the woods, I've been hit with infrasound.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, I
yeah,
totally believe in that. I
yeah.
mean, other mammals use it to firm believer in that, because there's been times where, I mean, I've been in the same area of woods for 4 years, but every once in a while it's like something happens, I get a little foggy, and next thing I know, I'm totally lost, have no idea where I'm at.
Mhm. So since the last time I had gotten infrasound, from what I believe, when I go into the woods now to do research, see, I live in a cabin, and right behind me is woods. I'm surrounded by woods and farmland. So
Hmm.
there's many reports of Bigfoot sightings around here, where they cross from out of the woods across the main road that I live off of, and they just go across the farmland and back into some more woods. So what I do now is, when I go in to do some research and look around, I don't go deep. I just go in, I look around, I look for foot tracks, I look, for tree structures and other evidence as well. And then I'll take a chair and I'll set it down, and I'll sit in that chair, and I'll get out my parabolic, dish and recorder and some other stuff, and I'll talk to it. You know, a lot of people think, you got to go in the woods and you got to go out there and you got to search for it and look for it. No, it knows you're there. Okay, once it knows you're there, if it chooses to, it will come to you. Maybe not a full blown sighting, but it'll come, within so many feet, and you'll be able to tell. You'll be able to smell it. You'll be able to hear the noises. And one of the things I pay attention to is wood music. And when I say wood music, I'm talking about insects, birds,
Yeah.
and things that you hear naturally in the woods. Usually when that all stops, that's the best time to start paying attention and listen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Every time.
Hmm.
I mean, and then, like you said, when they stop, they're around, and when they start up again, they've already had their fill, and they left.
Hmm.
So there's been plenty of times, and even at night, you get that, like, the night wood sound, because my situation, I guess, is similar to yours. I don't live on the property, but I mean, there's a parking lot, and you can just walk in down this 2-track, and there's actually hiking trails on half of where I go.
Uh-huh.
So this place is populated throughout the day, and then I think the Bigfoot come out at night and see what the people left behind or whatever. And there was a night where it was my first time using a clear thermal that goes into your phone, for the iPhone. And I'm looking, and got it black for cold, and white for hot. And I had a friend with me, and we're looking around, and we can hear something walking around. It's dead silent. And I'm looking down the road, and my friend goes, what's those two things right there? That's the gap in the trees. And she's like, well, why are they getting bigger? They're not getting bigger. And then we heard a loud snap behind us, and I, whipped around with the camera. And as I go by my truck engine black. So I realized that I had had black for hot. And there were actually 2 of them that were walking up the trail toward us. So, and it was one of those things where it was before I learned to this is what we're here for. So we'll stick it out, or we got in the truck and left. But
Mhm.
it was one of those nights where you heard the crickets and everything going, and then also it was silence. So we knew something was coming around. And
So, as a researcher, how often do you get to put boots on the ground? How often do you go in?
until I started having some health issues
Mhm.
about a year and a half ago, I was getting out there 3 to 4 times a week.
Right.
Um, and the whole thing started with of would have been 2019, and I was on the forums, met a friend who was from Benzie County, which is where I'm at, and he had Bigfoot in quite a few encounters, and was a pretty heavy researcher and knew the area very well. And I said, I just want to see another one to confirm what I saw when I was 16. And he's like, well, if you go here, this is probably your best chance. So I drove, stopped at a store, saw a friend that I hadn't seen in a while. And she's like, well, what are you doing? And I said, well, actually, I'm going to go look for Bigfoot. And she kind of laughed because, another disbeliever. And
Mhm.
so she gets in the truck, and I said, let's go for a walk anyway. There wasn't very much snow, maybe a couple of inches of hard pack. And so where we went, there's a service road, and it runs down the side of Lake Michigan. So there's bluffs on both sides. It's kind of in like a valley. And I didn't want to be one of those people who's out there yelling and stuff like that. So I would clap twice, periodically walking down. And it got real silent. Didn't think anything of it at that time. And I took a picture because I thought, man, if you could walk up that bluff, that would be really cool. You could see not only the lake, but everything below. And I wonder what they would see from up here. And I took 2 steps, and then it sounded like 2 catcher's gloves hitting together, clapped twice, but way louder than I ever could. Stopped me in my tracks. I look at my friend, and she's got tears in her eyes. I says, it takes hands to clap, right? And she's like, yeah, I want to go home. And so we turned around immediately. The first time out, I'm expecting to get, skunked. I don't think I'm ever going to get lucky.
Yeah.
And about as soon as we started walking back, you started hearing, footfall. And we get about a quarter of the way back, and we hear a tree knock. And you can hear footfall not only behind us, but now you can hear it on the left side as well. We get halfway back, and now you've got stuff breaking and tree knocks on the right. Still got stuff happening behind us, stuff happening on the left. And it's exactly a 1 mile trail. You get a quarter of the way back, and all of a sudden you hear the metal gate I parked by just get rattled. Something is shaking the living snot out of it. And I'm like, we're done. I just took this poor girl out for a walk, and we're done. And turn around and see something. I couldn't tell you how tall, but it was taller than me. I'm 6 foot. Get behind a tree. And we walk out, and sure enough, I didn't have a tape measure or anything, but there was lots of prints around my truck and by the gate and then back down the hill. And that scared us enough that we didn't go back there for several months. Well into springtime before we started doing that again. And at first we were going out and just finding like tree structures, and because when the wind comes off the lake, it's only blowing one way most of the time. So most of the trees are going to be laying in a certain direction. But then all of a sudden, when you get a huge X, it's like, okay, why is that there, but everything else is laying flat?
Mm-hmm.
Or we'd be walking, and all of a sudden, within half a football field around, every cherry tree is snapped, about 8 feet off the ground. Nothing else is. But all the cherry trees are, And then we started finding partial tracks, and then we thought, well, I wonder how far we can push this,
Mm-hmm.
So we started leaving colored rocks in places, and the rocks that get moved, but nothing definitive. It's like, well, how do we know for sure unless we call it half a print or something?
Hey, Brian, let me interrupt you
Yeah.
real quick. Don't lose your what you were speaking about when you said colored rocks. Does blue mean anything to you?
Oh, yeah.
With Bigfoot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, once I got in trouble for the peanut butter, we switched over to rocks and putting multiple colored rocks in a pile,
Mm-hmm.
and only the blue one would disappear.
Yeah, they say, I've heard multiple reports where it states that for some reason Bigfoot likes blue.
Yep, it's always the blue ones. They never take the little. I've taken different kinds of quartz out because of you hear about vibration and stuff like that. White quartz, black quartz. It's always the blue topaz thing. Doesn't matter if it's painted or a true blue stone. That's what disappears.
Okay, I'm sorry for interrupting you.
No.
Go back to what you were talking about. I'm sorry. I just I'll be sick. The reason I interrupted you is because I just recently was involved in an accident, and I'm still dealing with a brain fog and a concussion. So when I get like a question in my head that I want to ask, it usually if I don't get it out there, it's like, oh, where did it go?
Yeah.
What did I want to say? Yeah. So,
no worries there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember seeing a picture and what was supposed to be a Bigfoot thumbprint in the peanut butter jar. I thought, heck, let's leave a jar of peanut butter here and there and see what happens. And we were leaving like 2 out at the time, and we started with the small ones. But then I saw, it almost looked like a snake going through the woods with something shiny in front of it. I'm like, what the heck? And pulled my phone out and zoomed in, and it was a squirrel with an empty peanut butter jar, keeping his head up, running across it. I went, okay, well, so then we switched to the 4-pound jars. And that was when, things got really interesting, because we started leaving 6 out a week. And no, 9, because we'd replace 3. I'd go Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And sometimes you find them chewed up, by like raccoons or something. But it got to the point where I would like bungee cord the peanut butter jar, and then I would put colored popsicle sticks, just a mix of them, under the jar. And we would go back. It might be that next Thursday or it might be Saturday, but you would go back and that peanut butter jar would be gone. And then the popsicle sticks would be laid out by color on the ground. All right in a row. So it was like, okay. And that was where the track with the tape measure on it was taken, was from one of the peanut butter stations.
Okay.
And then a lot of the times it would be almost like a trail, because you would find the label peeled off in one piece, keep looking around, and then you find an empty jar or lid, and then keep looking around. If you're lucky, you find the jar. But what really started was when sometimes the lids would be back on the jars. And like I showed you earlier, they get those jars clean.
Wow. I can imagine the size of their tongue.
Yeah. That's the only thing I can think of. And what amazes me, because we even got this, I got that because there's a couple of hairs in it that if I ever find somebody. But that they can, something that big and that strong has the dexterity and control to unscrew the lid and then turn around and put it back on, and not a scratch mark on it, not a bite mark. But it was happening every time we went out. We'd be finding empty jars, but we couldn't identify when those jars were taken. So what I started doing was dating the top. and then dating the bottom, and then put like I had a pipe that I put some in, because I would try to hide them so the average hiker isn't going to find it.
Mm-hmm.
And like I put 7-4, 22p for pipe, and then I would put the same thing on the bottom so that way when we found the lid in the jar, we would know where they were and which ones they came from. And I mean, we got some really cool stuff out of it. Like I said, dozens of jars. Again, I got plenty of pictures where I compared the jars where, raccoon had chewed the lid open, and then you could see all the raccoon tracks and, stuff in the peanut butter as far down as you could reach his arm. But I wanted comparison photos between that and then what the jars I think were Bigfoot because of how clean they were. I tried cleaning one up. Holy crap. I put it through the dishwasher and everything. That's hard.
Yeah, how many times?
Yeah, exactly.
If I take a jar and just set it in the sink, put some soap in it, and fill it up with hot water, I got to dump it out a few times and redo what I did the first time.
Yeah,
then I can start, loosening it up and get it clean. But I still don't never get it that spotless. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the record we found were 4 in one day.
Wow.
And so, and so this goes on, and the experiences that went with it were priceless to me. Mm-hmm. Because, there'd be times where, we'd be walking the trail and I kept looking up, and how like when the termites get at a tree, it'll turn kind of like a reddish brown orange, like if it's been wet or something. And so it's like a rust color.
Right.
And for some reason, it kept standing out to me on the hill. And I'm like, what the heck is that? And as soon as I pulled my phone up, it stood up and jumped over the hill. That was the first time I saw the one that I call Big Red. And, shoulders twice as wide as mine, but he, at the time he was a little over 5 feet tall. Mm-hmm. And then another time when I went out, this was after, maybe 3 months after that, I parked my truck, and then it was maybe 30 yards to one of the first places I would put the peanut butter. And I would always clap to let them know I was there. And a lot of times we get a tree knocked back or something. So I didn't clap. I went out and I put the jar and I bungee corded it. And I thought I would try something different. So I jangled my keys as hard as I could. And all of a sudden you hear like a bulldozer running through the woods. I get back to the edge of the woods just in time to see Head and Shoulders going over the bluff. Go over and look, and there's tracks around my truck. And I'm like, what the heck? What was... And then it dawned on me that I had left I treat myself with A&W cream soda. That's my treat. And I'd left it on my bumper. And those tracks were right by my bumper, and my pop was gone. So after I started doing that, I really started trying to push my luck. And I would intentionally leave like a Diet Mountain Dew bottle at one station. And by the time we get back, maybe 25% of the time, it would be moved to another station. So it was like it knew they were following us.
Right. Well, let me ask you this: Have you ever had rocks thrown at you, branches, or any other way of Bigfoot saying what I believe when they start throwing rocks and branches and stuff like that, they're telling you, don't want you here, leave. Sometimes there could be a bluff charge.
Yep. We got rocks chucked at us the night I put that recorder out. And then another time was we went into some place that we don't normally go. And we walked down part of a hill, and then we hear crash, 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 and it scared the crap out of us. We look, and there's 2 deer that run off. Oh, okay. And probably 60 seconds after that deer ran off, 2 rocks landed by our feet. So I said, I told her, I said, that's their sign, go away, because we were hunting and you just scared our dinner off.
Hmm.
So, and then one day that I wasn't even Bigfooting, I just wanted to go out in the woods because I find peace in those woods for some reason. I had my headphones on and was just walking a trail, and then I get beamed right in the earphone with a rock.
Hmm.
So,
Now I've had
yeah.
rocks
Oh,
chucked at me, but I've never been hit. I mean, they've always came close,
yep.
within inches, feet, yeah, but never hit.
Yeah. I had a log chucked in my truck.
Wow.
And the reason for that and why I will never, ever, ever do it again
Mhm.
is I call blasted that Ohio howl that Matt Moneymaker did. I played it 3 times, and then you can hear something flying through the trees, and it hit the back of my truck so hard that I thought it blew the back window out.
Mm.
So I get the flashlight and I'm looking, waiting to see a shattered window. I want probably 2 feet long,
Mhm.
and maybe I could get my hands around it, so about that big. But from where it would have had from my truck to the wood line would have been 20 yards, and you could hear it come crashing through before it hit the back of my truck. So that was why I refused to call blast it anymore.
Now I've in the past done that around here, like I said, out back, behind my cabin, is the part of the woods that I go into the most. And one of the messed up things is I live near a gun range. So I can go out in the daytime, when they're blow, blow, blow within the distance. I mean, you can hear it. I can hear it on the inside of the cabin, just like my wife heard it today. It's very loud. But, after they're shut down, like I said, I'll go into the woods, but I won't go deep.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, sometimes I break the rule, don't go in the woods alone. But like I said, I don't go in deep. I may go back a half a football field. Even that's dangerous. But
yeah, I break that rule a lot, unfortunately.
Yeah,
because my friend can't go with me every time, and there's just times where I just want to be by myself. And
yeah, there's just times where I just go into retrieve things that I left in there. I got a project going, like tests and stuff like that. So I'll go in there and I'll check and see if it's been disturbed or been moved or.
yeah. Well, I've had a return. Trying to think. I know it's 3, but I can only remember what 2 of them are off the top of my head. Where we had gone down, and it was getting close to dark, so I had a flashlight. As dumb as it sounds, it was one of those little collector's edition Tomb Raider flashlights.
Mm-hmm.
I had it in my pocket, and I get back to the truck and get home and can't find the flashlight. I'm like, son of a gun, I can't believe I lost that.
Right.
It was like 3 months later that at a peanut butter station where I had been many, many times before this, like I said, we were out there 3 times a week. That flashlight turned up where the peanut butter jar was.
Right.
And then the other time was a very dear friend of mine had passed away. And so I went down, just picked a spot in these woods. It wasn't anywhere I traditionally go. And I was bawling my eyes out, like a baby. And then I heard like a moan, and I'm like, it stopped me because I had some music playing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what was that? And listened, and there was nothing. And so I turned and started crying again and missing my friend and started moaning again. This happened 3 times. It was almost, to me, it felt like they were empathizing they knew I was sad, and they were reacting or mimicking, whatever you want to call it, to that. But when I left, I had my dog clicker with me and lost it out of my pocket. And it was like, there's no way I'm going to find it because I don't even know where I was at in those woods. And I had told my friend Linda about it, and we get there, and there's a cattle gate, and that dog clicker is tied to that cattle gate. So it was one of those things I would use instead of clapping. I would do the dog click, and lo and behold, somebody brought it back and tied it to the fence for me.
Unbelievable! Wow. Let me ask you this. Here's something very strange. And I do hear the topic come up quite a bit. And I've interviewed several people that said that they have experienced it, on their farm. Have you ever heard of someone going out to their stall and finding their horse's hair? What do you call it?
Braided?
Yeah.
I've heard of it. I never experienced it because I don't have horses, but I have heard of that.
Yeah,
It's crazy. Find the tails tied to the fence post.
Yeah, it's strange to me. I'm not saying they're lying. I'm just saying It's strange because you would think if a Sasquatch comes around, horses are going to get upset, and horses will get upset because of chimpanzees, elephants. I traveled with the circus, so I've seen many a situations where the horses would break free and start running off, and we'd have to chase them down, and sometimes we'd have to tranquilize them to calm them down enough to bring them back. And I'm just thinking, a Bigfoot getting that close to a horse.
I wonder if infrasound doesn't play part of that.
I was thinking that, yeah.
And like a calming effect, because I had a friend, and his story is out there. His name's Randy Katara, and he had an incident where I won't say the whole thing; it would take too long. But part of the incident was where the Bigfoot had him pinned down as a boy, and started making a sound, and Randy could feel himself starting to calm down a little bit. So I wonder if that's the same mechanism
Probably
that does that. Well, if I could get this out there real quick, because what I did, people warned me against doing the habituation thing. You hear a lot of people don't do it, and I thought, well, I got this. I didn't have it. It was their rules the whole time, because what happened was I had to have a surgery and on my tricep, and so it was going to take me out of the woods for a couple months.
Okay.
And so a friend of mine was going to, put some peanut butter out, and chickened out because of the fact that she didn't want to go alone. And then what happened was I went out maybe 3 times, and I find a card from the DNR on I'm sorry. The DNR called my friend because she had drove her truck and gave her a card to give me, because what they had done, my license plate was in my back window, and the window was tinted, so they couldn't get a plate number, so they got her plate number. Went and visited her, gave her a card, gave me the card to call them. So I wound up calling the DNR. No idea what's going on. And, but so they started talking to me about the problem. The wildlife was getting too close to the houses, because there's 3 pieces of property on the opposite side of the road. And one of the people there I had a cordial relationship with. They knew what I was doing. I had showed the pictures and stuff. So, and then the other person tried the wrong way to meet me. And so we got off a real bad start. So they hated me. Anyway, so they were getting reports of the wildlife being too close to the house. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? And she says, well, the bears are coming out of hibernating now. So the bears are getting too close to the houses. And, not only that, there's an issue with the littering with the peanut butter jars. And I'm terrified because I've never dealt with, DNR and what could happen here. Mm-hmm. And when she kept saying bears, I said, I've been out there. I asked her first if it was being recorded. And another weird thing was we have a local DNR office 10 minutes from us. But they had somebody drive an hour and a half away to come out, talk to the people, and then talk to me on the phone. So that kind of threw me off. It's like, why aren't the local boys handling this? Why is somebody from Cadillac driving all the way up here? Anyway, and so I said, is this being recorded? And she's like, no. And I said, well, I don't get it because I've been out there 2.5 years. I've never seen a bear track, never seen bear scratch, never seen bear scat. And bears don't clap back at me and throw rocks at my truck. And she went, what? And I said, no, that's enough there. But I don't understand about the bears because they got bird feeders and bait piles and everything out there. So what's this? And she says, well, it's the issue with the bears. And she says, we want to see your trail cam footage. I'm like, I don't put trail cams out because I'm afraid they'll get stolen. And, in my head, I'm thinking no Bigfoot are going to come around with a trail cam. And she goes, well, if you got any pictures on your phone, I'd like to see those. And I said, no, we're not looking at my phone. There's nothing good on there anyway. Lying my butt off. And she says, well, it's conservancy property. So technically, if they wanted to, they could trespass you and you can't go back. She says, but all they're asking you to do is go out and clean whatever peanut butter jars you got and you quit doing this. I said, okay, no problem. So one weekend, what happened next is where defined everything was the people saw me cleaning the peanut butter, coming out with peanut butter jars, and the super nice couple, older couple. And they said, we're really sorry we had to do that. And I'm like, do what? And she's like, we had to call the DNR. I said, why'd you call them? Why didn't you call me? Because they had my phone number. And they says, well, you're 6 foot tall, you're a big guy, you carry, so we didn't know how well you would take this. And I went, well, what? And apparently what happened was after I was gone almost 2 months, about 2 weeks into me not going, the security lights kept coming on around their house. So they started looking at the footage, and it was peanut butter jars setting it off. These peanut butter jars were getting launched into the yard, setting off the motion lights. And then about a week later, the people that hate me, daughter woke up screaming in their second floor bedroom, and dad walks in and there's a Bigfoot, peeping in the window. So they obviously put the fact that I was out there, that this was my fault because I had stopped going. And I thought when I found out about the little girl, I was horrified because I figured that they were playing by my rules. They'd stay on their side of the road. They wouldn't go on to the private property. And it felt horrible, and it didn't stop for a few weeks after that. And the people the little girl was so scared she wouldn't sleep. They sold the house. So that's the reason why I even came public with this stuff, was to tell people don't do it. Do not habituate with them, because it is all their game, even though you think you got it under control. Because if you stop, they're not going to. They're going to keep looking for.
That's
yeah. And then you start hearing and then I started hearing real horror stories, about a lady who was putting like a sweet milk out in a cow trough for them. And at one point missed a few days and didn't like what was there. And she wound up getting cuffed. One snuck up behind her and cuffed her. So that was the whole reason I became public. Otherwise, I was keeping all this to myself and just sharing with the friend who told me about the place. And
Right. Well, Brian, let's do this. I want to go to a commercial real quick.
Sure.
And give you a little break, give myself a break. And to the listeners in the chat room, I want to give a shout out to, is it Tim Vogel and Mr. Bill Rigby for tuning in. And we'll be right back. We're going to go to a commercial and then we're going to talk more with Brian. We'll be right back.
Deep in the woods, the stories are real. But on the airwaves, the truth can get lost in the noise.
Gary Kendrick is host of Sasquatch Watch Radio. Every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, we cut through the chaos. We aren't here for the drama or the ridicule. We're here for the evidence.
Join us each Monday as we talk with researchers, investigator, and eyewitnesses who have come face to face with the unknown.
It's a serious look at me in a respectful environment.
Find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble. Subscribe today and visit us at squatchradio.com. Sasquatch Radio, the search for the truth starts here.
Just click on that SWR logo on the lower right-hand corner of your screen to subscribe.
Always fascinated by the unexplainable? Strange Knocks magazine is the go-to. Flip it open, and boom, mind-blowing mysteries, zero fluff, packed with eerie tales and uncanny stories that mess with your head in the best way. Perfect for those nights when Netflix just doesn't cut it. Once got so lost in a story, forgot the pizza in the oven. Check out strangenocks.com and let mystery knock back.
I'm Tracy Jones from the podcast Beyond the Veil, airing every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube. Listen, you have a question or a comment, or there's something about the paranormal you want to know, but you don't have anybody to talk to, you can talk to me. I'll handle any question you got. Just type in the search engine the @ symbol, Tracy Jones, TRACEY JONES hyphen K4F. So, @ Tracy Jones hyphen K4F. Tune in. I'd love to see you there.
Where the candles glow and the old ways stay, there's magic waiting every day. Crystals shine and broomsticks sway at crafty witch soiree.
Don't forget to like and follow us on Facebook.
There we go. Couldn't get the button to work here for a second. My apology.
No worries.
Okay, let's see. Let me open the chat room back up. So before we get back in, I just want to let the listeners know if you have any questions, put it in the comment section, and I'll put it up there for Brian or myself, and we'll definitely give you an answer. Make sure you put it in all caps. All right. So Brian, there's a photo that you sent me. I wanna bring that photo up and let you talk about that. Let's see. Here we go.
Oh yeah, the tree peaker. That was the honest moment. I did not think I was coming out of the woods. how that all started was, and there's a place called the Tippy Dam in Brotherton, Michigan, and where the Manistee River's flowing. And a friend of mine told me, hey, I just heard about this encounter. I want to go check it out. And the week before, what had happened were these guys were out midnight fishing, and they were just off of an island. You know, I say island, but big sandbar with grass on it. How's that? And it's well past midnight, and they hear splash, so they think fish. Hear another splash, think fish. Well, then, bam, rock right in the boat. And then they hear a scream from the shoreline. So they don't mess around. They, get out of there, and they know my friend and called him and said, hey, we know you're into this. This is what happened. So he called me, and he's like, you want to go? I want to go check it out. So I'm like, yeah, let's go. So we drive down into this place. It's called Sawdust Hole. And like I said, I do not like doing call blasting. And as soon as we get out of the car, the first thing he does is a long Ohio howl. And he can do a good one. I called him a filthy name because I'm like, what are you doing? God, I hate that. And within 30 seconds, big loud tree knock. So this is during the day. I want to say we met at like 1 o'clock. And so we start walking around and see a lot of signs. I mean, big X's. I mean, trees that if I put my arms around, couldn't hug, in an X shape along different parts of it's set up on a hill overlooking the dam. And we get to the point, and I'm looking down, and I'm like, that is the weirdest looking thing I've ever seen. And he's like, what? And looked, and you know how log cabins have the logs, stacked?
Mm-hmm.
This was like 3 high. Half of it was in a little open part, and where you could see where it went into the tree line. But it was in a triangle with an open end. And I said, that is just... And then we hear like a little knock come from down there. And so my friend, grabs a stick and knocks back again. This goes on a couple times. Well, then the knock from down the hill starts getting rhythmic. I'm like, oh, it's a woodpecker, And my friend goes, just as I say woodpecker, he's like, he curses, oh crap, I'm like, what? He goes, there's babies. I said, what? He said, there's babies. I'm like, baby what? He goes, there's baby Bigfoot down there. I just saw one. And you can hear a whistle from the left. You hear a loud crack, would have been due south of us. And then another crack off to the right. And we said, okay, time to go, because they're coming. And so we start walking and walk maybe 25, 30 feet, and you hear another whistle and a tree crack, but they had closed the distance by half at least. So we turn and we start apologizing. Hey, we are so sorry. We did not know there were babies. We are leaving. We are out of here. And we both see a figures moving. And so we both start snapping pictures. So that was the best one of them, but there was like almost an identical twin, but probably 50% bigger, looking out from another tree. And they were about 50 yards at this point. And you could see another smaller brown figure off to the right moving. And we walk, and they get within probably 25 yards. And I text my, future wife, here's my GPS. This is where I'm at. If you don't hear from me in 30 minutes, call the Rangers, because we're in trouble. And he did the same thing. And we were nervous the whole way. And once they got that close, then they slowed down to just paralleling us out to the cars. And then they stopped at the tree line. We think, okay, it's over now. And he gets on the phone, and next thing you know, you can hear trees break in and a couple whoops from inside the tree line. They didn't leave. They wanted us out of there. So they pushed us even harder to get in the cars and finally leave. But that whole walk out, I did not think I thought we were going to be statistics at that point. How fast they closed that distance and how big they were. So he was 8-footer, and he had to be 500 pounds. And the one that was even bigger was black. And just off to his luck, the picture that I got isn't as good because he's walking behind a tree. So you got a tree, you got like the head leaning forward, and then you got like a foot in the back. So I just sent the best one we got. But that was a bad picture because you got the arm and you can see the.
Yeah, let's put it up there again.
And you can see that lovely dome, and then the head break down under the shoulder with that huge arm sticking out, and the leg all the way down. So they were close, and they were not happy. They were not having us being there around those babies. So that was 2024. That was a different area. That was a different area than I normally go to.
Awesome photo. Very awesome. You say that was 2024?
Yeah, April 2024.
Okay.
Well, and the funny thing was, my mom owned a bar close to there, within 10 miles. And there was one guy, his name was Harold, always came in and got hammered. Funnier than heck. And then one night we were sitting there, and he knew I was into Bigfoot. And he's like, "Man, I got a Bigfoot story for you." He said, the other night, he said, the chickens kept missing. And so I started watching, and all of a sudden I see someone come walking through the woods, grab 2 of my chickens and run out the door and take a shot at it. And I'm like, "You dropped them chickens, you mother. You can take the life, but leave my chickens." This is like 10 years before then. So I thought he was just yanking my leg at that point. But, 10 years later, what is really fun was, I know everybody has their opinion on Matt Moneymaker, but in 2019, I had reached out to him on Facebook saying, "Hey, this is what I've said." I sent him pictures to show him, like of the tracks and stuff. I said, where would be a good place to go? Not thinking I'd hear anything. And it was like 3 days later, he texted me back. He goes, 6 clicks where the Manistee River comes in from Lake Michigan. He says, go there. That's a hot spot. And when you look on the map, where that turns out to be? Tippy Dam. So 3 years later, I wind up in the spot that he had recommended to me, and had one heck of a Bigfoot encounter.
I guess
to look for tracks later.
Yeah, I guess he's referring to the photo that I just, while you were discussing the details.
Yeah, we were going to go back, but on our way in, we looked for a bunch of stuff, and didn't really see anything. But then on the way out, there was a. You ever hear of those hangers? The big tree log pieces of tree that get laid straight across, and they're like 20 feet in the air or more.
Yeah.
There was an 8-foot one where it had not been. 8 foot plus. I didn't have a tape measure, and I said, "How did we miss that?" And Lance is like, "We didn't miss that. That's new." So I have a friend who, is pretty knowledgeable on it. I said, "What is this?" And he says, "That's a warning to you." He says, basically saying, this is how big we are. This is how strong we are. And if you come back, that's going to be you in the tree. So never went back.
Wow. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people on, different podcasts say that, Bigfoot won't hurt you. Well, let me say this. Bigfoot is huge. Bigfoot is massive. Okay. And it could hurt you very well if it wanted to.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, does it happen quite a bit? From what I read and from what I understand, I hear a heck of a lot of bluff charges. Not too many reports of someone, most people get injured because they run. I'm not going to run because I'm not going to outrun it anyway.
Yeah. That's
so,
what
I'm just
my
going to
friend said.
And get out of there the best way I can. If
Yeah, when my friend says that first night, she's like, "Are you going to run?" And I'm like, "No, because I'm going to meet Jesus either way." So
that's right. You have to think about this. You're not going to outrun it. And if you try to run, you're most likely going to fall and hurt yourself. And then possibly be injured by, the Bigfoot chasing you. But I'm not running.
no,
And I'm a big guy, but I don't care how big you are.
No.
There's no point in running. Just get out of there, the best way you can and safely. So,
yeah, a lot of people considered me a big guy, but from the time I was 16 and saw what I saw, compared to Nathan, it was like, I mean, I'm a 6 foot 290 weightlifter, blah blah blah. But compared to something that was 8 feet tall and 600 pounds, not that big. Kind of do. I think they're like people in the sense that each one of them has a personality, and even one with the kindest, gentlest personality, if you hit the wrong circumstances, it's going to be a bad day.
Yeah. Brian, I interviewed a gentleman where he told me he was in the woods and he just came across one that was, I think 15, 20 feet from him is what he told me. And he said this thing just charged in, came running towards him. He said he couldn't move. He said every muscle in his body locked up. He said, but what this Bigfoot did was leaned its face into his face. He said he could feel the breathing, which felt like he was going to be knocked over because that's how heavy it was. He said, I don't know how long it was inches from my face, breathing in my face and staring at me and not moving. He said, but he said he didn't move himself. He said, I don't remember how long it lasted. He said, but it felt like it lasted forever and it just walked away from him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just putting the fear of Bigfoot in him.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, we all know that when we go out there and do research, we get warnings, whether it's the rocks, the branches, the scream, a bluff charge, a number of things. So
I've had what do they call it? Some people call it the wall of fear, but I've had times where I've been out walking someplace I've been many, many times, and all of a sudden it was like, no, today's not the day to be here. I can feel it in my bones. I'm going home. I don't push it. It's like,
I'm not pushing it either. So, I think, I've, like the guy I was with in 1982 on the farm, we were just sitting up on the deck and we were sitting at a round picnic bench and under an umbrella. And we were just, eating our lunch before we were going to go back to work. And these rocks just started coming up on the deck and bop, bop, bop. None had hit us until the one hit my friend in the back of the neck. And he was like, ow. And that, the owner was inside eating in the kitchen. And he came out with his shotgun and his wife's trying to take the shotgun. She goes, no, hon, stop. So, that's when I walked over to the railing and I'm looking into the wood lines, and that's when I saw it. That was my Bigfoot sighting. Like I said, it wasn't like it was standing in front of me, but it was behind brush and trees and stuff like that. And the arm came out and I saw the hand. And I'm communicating back and forth between me and my friend, and he's like, and here's what he says. You're gonna laugh. He said, just leave it alone. It's a bear.
Yeah.
I said, who in the hell ever told you bear throws rocks? I don't care. He wasn't back then, I mean, I was into ghosts and UFOs, and, that was back, let's see, I was 20 years old. So I was reading books and just getting into it. And, after a long, situation with my family, when you listen to my bio, it said that my family has seen far more tragic incidents that were associated with the high strangeness. And so, now I'm going to share this with you. In 2000, I'm sorry. 2019, we moved up here to Pennsylvania from Elkton, Maryland, Northeast Maryland. And I can't mention his name, but I can say family member and myself saw a dog man. Okay. Mm-hmm. Then 7 months later, after I had reported it to Lon Strickler and a few other people, because I wasn't really paying a whole lot of attention about Dogman. Then 7 months later, after me and a family member saw the first one, I saw one at like 3:00 in the morning by myself. So right now I'm making a documentary about the whole situation, and it's going to be coming out soon. But thank God I haven't seen any more since. And it's what now? 2026. So
yeah, I've been blessed with not seeing it, but like I mentioned before, my family had an incident, and I was just in that show, Small Town Monsters: Rise of the Michigan Dogman,
mm-hmm.
where I told my family's account down in New Wake, Manistee National Forest, which is a huge hotspot for dogman, and it was 1964, and Grandpa was a World War II vet, Purple Heart and everything. And one night they were in, it was a 3-bedroom ranch, type style house. And so the living room was in the center, and it was a foggy night out. And the German Shepherd started barking, and then it yiped, and it went quiet. And next thing you know, the German Shepherd came flying through the picture window with the chain wrapped around its neck. No longer with us. And first thing my grandpa did was there were 7 kids, 4 boys, 3 girls. And so they started pushing the bookcase in front of the hole in the window. And if something was trying to get in the door, the doorknob was jiggling and everything. So my grandpa got the 4 boys and armed them, and they went outside, and it was foggy, so you couldn't see anything. So they went up on the roof, and we're sitting there, and he had one of those old, remember the searchlights with the canister batteries,
mm-hmm.
and was shining down, and did get a glimpse of something walking on 2 legs, wolf head, jet black with a mane, and couldn't get a shot off in time. But then, because it got back in the fog, and then they heard it walk around for a couple more hours, and then it walked off. So it was kind of funny, because I remember that story being told to us when I was probably 12. And then I'd asked my aunt a few years later, was that true? Or you guys just yanked at our chain? And she was like, no, it was true.
Mm-hmm.
So I did the documentary. And then my uncle emailed my mom 2 days ago, and he lives in Japan. He's lived in Japan since 1979. And he said, yeah, I'm sitting there watching, this documentary on Netflix, and I see Brian on there talking about Nuevo, and he says, I do remember that incident. So it was kind of validation. I was able to send to the filmmaker. See, this was, my mom won't tell the story because they work as campground hosts in Texas, and they're afraid they'll lose that because everybody think they're bonkers. But yeah, that happened in '64. They moved to Lake Ann in '65, and they started having Bigfoot action in '66. I've never seen one, so, and I am not in a hurry to.
Don't be. The second one was a lot worse than the first one, because the first one, just me and a family member spun around. We didn't hear it. We were just spinning around to set boxes down that we were taking out of an SUV. And both of us at the same time said, "What the F is that?" And it just took off. Now the second one, that was totally, it was a lot different. You know, I don't know how long it lasted. I would say, God, I don't know, 30, 40 seconds, maybe longer, maybe less. But I thought for sure it was going to rip me a new ass, and it didn't. It growled. You know, it stood on its hind legs and looking in my direction, and it just, in a matter of time, gone. You know, and then I found myself. Now here's the freaky part. I'm like, whew, you know, and my muscles were locked up everywhere. So as they started unlocking, I'm walking backwards, and there's a tree in front of my cabin, and my back touched it. What do you think I thought then? That it came around? Yeah, every bit of it. So all the muscles unlocked. I spun around, and it was the tree. So I went around it, and I just kept walking backwards. Still wasn't seeing it, but I'm walking backwards. And I reached for the cabin door, got inside and locked it. And not only did I see it the second time, there was a guy in a car that slammed on his brakes that almost hit it. Because when he almost hit it, it dropped and came in my direction. And once it noticed me picking up I was out there to pick up a trash can that blew over. So by the time I got it set up, it was 15 feet, 10 feet away from me, 10 to 15 feet. And the noise that thing made, I ain't never going to forget it. I still think about it, you know, when I'm laying there watching TV, watching a ball game, it just pops up in my mind. You know, it just won't go away. But, you know, I started researching in my area of dogman sightings, and are all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a half a block down off of 313. A guy and a girl was sitting at the traffic light, and one came out of a small section of woods, crossed the road, and went over the guardrail. And then, you know, that was like the most recent one before mine.
It's in Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know of a girl.
Yeah, I'm in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, which is Doylestown, actually. But like I said, it's all woods and farmland all the way around. They just connect to each other.
Yeah, I can't remember. I've got an acquaintance that we met through a podcast. She had a white one in Pennsylvania that she saw a tail, didn't know what it was, and she had her dog out, and all of a sudden it stood up and was sniffing the air, and then turned and looked right at her, and then looked at her dog, and, you know, she grabbed the dog and ran in the house, and when she got in the house, something was scratching at the door. So it was pure white too.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm lucky. I haven't seen one. I don't want to see one. Manistee National Forest, that's where, remember the song The Legend?
No.
Steve Cook did that song, The Legend. If you haven't heard it, I'll send it to you.
Okay.
That made the rounds, and
The Legend. Okay.
Yeah, by Steve Cook.
Steve Cook. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, and I'll tell you, Brian, to this day, I don't want to see it again. I mean, the first one scared me as well, but it was much younger than the second one. The second one, oh my God. It was like a werewolf from a movie on steroids.
Yeah.
That's how massive it was and scary. And I'll tell you what, I have 2 stents in my heart, and I about lost it.
I bet.
My muscles locked up. Yeah, and then when I walked back a few feet and I hit that tree, and I thought it went around me. No, never again.
Nope. When I hear size comparisons that they're, a lot of them are as tall or, like a Bigfoot, but leaner and more athletic, it's like, nah, it's nothing I want to. Most of the big stuff you hear, it's curiosity. There's not a lot of aggression. It's more of a curiosity or an accidental sighting, where Dogman sounds like almost it's a little more intentional. From what I hear, I just don't ever anybody hear that they were comfortable or it didn't scare them. Everybody's.
All right, Brian, we're coming up on the let's see, at 9 o'clock. It'll be the end of the second hour. Let's here. I'm going to put these photos up that you have left. Let's do this one.
Yeah, that was one going toward one of our peanut butter stations that I found near the parking lot. And the reason I put the stick next to it was I snapped the stick. I didn't have my tape measure. And that was 17 inches. So there's 2 of them I find out there pretty frequently. Once in a while, I should have sent you this picture. You'll laugh at this story, because there's a 17-inch and then the 23, which we find out there. So I think there's, like a family group. And I found a juvenile print. What I thought was a juvenile print anyway. It's like half the size of my size 15, but inch or so deep. So I take a picture of it with my foot next to it, and I send it to my friend who's a tracker. And I'm like, look at this, look at this. And he's like, yeah, that's a juvenile. He says, well, what about the big one? I'm like, what big one? And he circles it. And sure enough, I had put my foot heel to heel. Inside there was a little baby one, and then a 17-inch. And you can see 4 of the toes. And I never even saw it. So excited. So he outlined it, and he's like, ha, 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 some tracker you are. Some Bigfoot researcher you are. You missed the 17-inch track.
Wow.
Yeah. But.
All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's where people used to dump stuff. And it's in like a type of valley. A lot of deadfall, and about every other week you would go down there and that would all be tore up with imprints, anywhere between 4 and 5 feet apart. Some of them were even bigger, but nothing you can get a track off because the deadfall's so thick from the leaves. So, the places, and they're there year round when you can get back there. That was why I got the pictures in the snow and stuff, but it's a seasonal road, so you can't always get back there.
Right.
But that did solve one mystery for me, was do they migrate? And it's like, well, at least not these. They hang out because there's plenty of deer there, and they know when it's deer season, because by the 1st of November, the spot dies. Nothing goes on until close to New Year's. And then the activity picks back up.
Okay. Let me just I want to throw this in here real quick. I don't know if Brian, if you're familiar with it. If you want to take a good look at a good magazine that covers the paranormal, cryptids, Bigfoot, all that stuff, it's called Strange Knocks magazine. I'm going to throw the QR code up there. I'm going to put that up for a while. So there it is up in the top left-hand corner. And let's go ahead and go to this next photo. Let's see. Here we go.
Yeah, so that was leading away from one of the peanut butter spots. And there was I didn't notice it at the time, but when I look at the pictures, there were several of those.
Mm-hmm.
I saw 3. And that was another 23-inch. I mean, it just weighed enough to just crumble the leaves into the ground. So it was 23 by 9.
Wow.
So, and if the footprint ratio works, you know, that puts it close to, 11 feet tall.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Okay, so I'm going to throw this up, and I'm really I love this photo. I know I've already showed it, but I want to show it again. Oops, wrong one. Where'd it go? All right. Where did my photo go? My favorite one. There it is.
Oh.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, when you zoom in, you can even get a pretty good outline of the face where the hair comes down, and that was intense.
Mm. Wow. So let me ask you this, Brian. When it comes to researching Bigfoot and the cryptids, what is the best part that you enjoy doing the most, or would you say it's all of it?
I love getting out in the woods to begin with, but
Mhm.
the interaction that I sometimes get is just priceless.
Mm-hmm.
Something that isn't supposed to exist. Yet, here I am, and hundreds of peanut butter jars later, and the audio, the quick glimpses, it's just fascinating to me how they can be in the woods, be that big, and still know enough to keep away from us. And you know what I mean? To me, they're not technologically smarter than us, but in their environment, we're like kindergarten and they're in pre-calc or calc, because the way they're able to stay hidden, they know pretty much. I think to them, it's not to mess with us, because then a whole bunch of us are going to come back with the boom boom sticks. So they kind of just, get us out of the area if they need to, or they just let us do our thing.
Right.
I don't even call myself a researcher because I'm so horrible organizer. I just say I'm an enthusiast.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
so how many
love it.
years do you have into it now?
Actually being in the woods since 2019.
2019. Okay.
Yep.
I don't think I'm gonna
3 times a week.
3 times a week. I don't think I'm gonna retire. Like I said, I'll be 63 unless I become confined to the cabin where I can't walk or something like that. But then I'll still continue to do something. So
yeah, I miss not being able to get out there as much. Like I said, my girlfriend has the MS, and now I have. I've always, for the last few years, my chronic pain syndrome has gotten worse, and now I need a pretty serious back surgery coming up.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how much. So every moment I can get in the woods is absolutely precious to me.
Well, let me ask you this: what advice? I'm sorry. What advice would you give someone who is just getting involved, that is new to researching Bigfoot, cryptids, and other cryptids?
I'm going to give the same advice that a good friend of mine, Tom Cantrell, gave me. And that is, if you are looking for an experience for yourself, don't take any cameras, don't take any, literally grab a box of Kentucky Fried Chicken in a chair, pick someplace, that maybe you've heard of activity, and just sit and eat your chicken and wait.
There you go. Awesome. So let me take a look here real quick. I just want to, here's a question I want to get out to you. You know how researchers will go out there into the woods and they will have a Bigfoot encounter, but prior to the encounter, they will see things like these balls of white light. Have you experienced anything like that?
Yeah, that's another one of those things where I haven't, but 90% of my research is during the day.
Okay.
So, it's sunny out, and seeing an orb would probably be pretty hard. But that's just, I hear about it all the time. I mean, and actually hear about when people hear footsteps and swear they're waiting for something to come through the tree line, and also it's just an orb, but they hear the footsteps not only go right by with the orb.
Yeah.
So where they're expecting an 8-foot monster, is a ball of light. Yeah, it's still making all that noise.
Let me ask you this: Are you familiar with Brian Sawyer? He's in Michigan as well.
The name rings a bell, but I couldn't.
Okay, with your permission, I'd like to put you in touch with him.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm going to have a discussion with him and tell him that I had you on the podcast, and you were a very interesting guest, and I'll with your permission, if it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, let me just.
I love sharing information, so because I think that's how we would learn more, not get married to certain ideas of what they are and what they aren't.
Right.
But listen to everything, and because let's face it, until one comes out and sits down and has a Bud Light with us and tells us this is what we are, it's just people's experiences. So,
right.
I don't know why people get so married to one thing and then attack other people who have a different experience. I just don't get that.
Let's see here. All right. Yeah, going back to the PG film, I've been getting a lot of emails and stuff in Messenger about doing a podcast about capturing Bigfoot, but I want to wait until I've seen the film.
Yeah,
like I said, it's not going to change my mind, about Bigfoot research or any of it. But before I do a podcast, I want to at least get to see the film first. So
that's where I'm in a double-edged sword for me, because I want to see what they got, but I don't want to give them money to do it. But because to me that's their goal. It's just a money grab. But listening to Bill Munn's interview, and because he has seen the film, and said, yeah, they showed them in a suit, but it was done for a recreation, not for a rehearsal.
Right.
So, which would, I can honestly say would make sense, but I do want to see what the suit looks like, because like we said, they don't have the material to make it do what that thing does in the film.
Yeah.
So how convincing is it, And then the other thing you wonder about is, did AI come into play at all? I mean, I love Bigfoot blogs, but
yeah. It's
it's a weird thing, because he waited 50 years to come forward, and
yeah,
I mean, I know people that talk to Bob Gimlin, and he's what, 94 now, and pretty frail. And let's face it, at 94, our memories aren't necessarily the best. And
Yeah. Yeah, they're just I've seen a few out there that are trying to tear him apart and tear him down, but
yeah, I have a friend who was at a conference 2 years ago when this first started to get rolling, and they misrepresented what they were looking for, and they separated Bob and a couple people, and my friend and a couple people, and then next thing you know, there's a bunch of shouting and stuff, and Mr. Hippopotamus is trying to get up there, and security's trying to keep him back, and basically tried to ambush him at a conference.
yeah.
So to me, they just waited. They know these people are going to get old, and even I would. I don't want to sound mean. Trying to think how to say this. If I were 94 years old and just wanted peace, and if I've been being harassed for 2 years, it's like, would I cave in and say, yeah, it was a suit? Or maybe the memory's just to the point where. So I do want to. I want to see, but I don't want to give him any money to do it. So.
Yeah, you're right. And that's exactly what he's doing right now. That's why we haven't, gotten a chance to see the film, because they're doing special screenings and,
Yeah.
making the money first. So, yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah. Because like we talked about, I think once it's viewed and people see it is for what it probably is, it's going to fizzle out faster than one of the firecrackers on 4th of July.
I hope so. I really do. Let me see what we got here. Does anybody in the chat room have any questions for Brian or myself? I think I hear myself echoing.
Let's see, Bernadette's wishing Bob to come out with a statement. And
let's see. With you, Brian, but I wish Bob would come out. Yeah, I'm echoing a little bit. I apologize. Come out with a statement.
I think he said something like 3 months ago, but again, he's 94 now, and he's told this story how many times, and nothing has changed. And
right.
Since Amber, what's her name, got him to come back out. So don't get me wrong, Bernadette. I mean, I would love to, but at the same time, I think he's made a statement for 30-some years now.
Exactly. Yeah. I agree with you, Brian. Okay, so Brian, man, you've been a great guest. I'd like to bring you back on again.
Anytime you want. I enjoyed it. I like talking to you. I feel like we're two friends sitting around having, maybe some KFC out in the woods, waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you my phone number. I'll take and send it to you in Messenger.
Okay.
And I'd like for you to stay in touch with me. And like I said, I'm sorry, I'd like to bring you back again. Yeah, have you on as a guest again. And,
yeah, I'll send you a bunch more photos.
Okay. So right now, if anyone wants to get a hold of you, what is the best way for them to do so?
Honestly, the best way is Facebook Messenger.
Okay.
That's the best way to go out for me. I do an occasional show on Bigfoot Outlaw Network. Fridays at 9, but that's not real consistent at the moment. So Facebook Messenger is the best place.
Well, if you get a chance, send me that link for Bigfoot Outlaws. I'd like to check it out. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the one I would. I mean, there was a couple good ones, but my favorite one on there was last year when we did the anniversary. We did a special one for Patty's anniversary with M.K. Davis, and he a couple things that he had never talked about before. So,
right. Okay. All right. So we're going to get ready to get out of here. If anybody, I hope I'm not getting a cold. If anybody has any last questions for Brian, please post it and I'll put it up. And listeners, stick around because I'm going to be talking about some upcoming events and some things I'm going to be doing myself. And that'll be right after we get done here. So it's only going to take a few minutes afterwards. And I'm going to put some photos and stuff up for the upcoming conference. And where's my co-host? I haven't heard from. No, I heard from her. Wow.
hopefully they're safe.
Yeah, exactly. So, Brian, it's been great having you on as a guest, and I want to thank you so much.
I really appreciate you having me on. Any chance I can talk with good people? You know,
Thank you, sir.
done some real stinkers, but this has been a true joy. So thank you very much.
I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. Yep. Good. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put you in the green room, and then I'm going to finish out. And like I said, I'll send my phone number to your messenger, and give me a call anytime.
That sounds good. Likewise. Always feel free.
Here's something to keep in mind. I'm retired. I don't have a certain time to go to bed. So, she says I never go to bed. I'm a night owl, so I'm always doing my homework and research and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, give me a call.
All right, sounds good, Dave.
All right, Brian. Thank you again.
Thank you. Good night.
All right, so there you have it. Excellent guest. I enjoyed having Brian on tonight. The first thing I'm going to touch on is the upcoming conference in New Jersey, the 4th Annual Cryptid and Paranormal Conference. So I'm going to put this up there. And for ticket information, all you got to do is just go to Facebook, look for Dave Bruce. And there's plenty of information on there from Mr. Bill Visconti and Karen Reynolds and Billy Reynolds, my two co-hosts. They have it on their Facebook as well. So check it out. There's still, I think the vendor spots are completely sold out, but I think there's plenty of, I'm sure there's plenty of tickets left. So if you get a chance, check that out. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight, and we'll see you again next week. Good night, everyone.